Good morning and welcome to today's webinar. This morning we're going to be covering Microsoft's changes to their Cloud Solutions Provider Program, or CSP, and what Microsoft are referring to as their new commerce experience. Just some housekeeping. You're going to be muted throughout the session, just so that we can save the questions for the end of the session, just to keep the flow going. If you have any questions, please pop them in the chat window on the right-hand side of your screen, or email tellmemore@bytes.co.uk, and we can follow up those after the session. Like I say, at the end of the presentation, we'll cover the Q&A and we'll go through those questions one by one. The seminar is going to be recorded, and we'll make it available to you later on today, along with a copy of the slides. And there is a survey at the end of the session following the Q&A. So if you do want to request a callback from one of the Bytes specialists, then please complete the survey. So just a brief introduction to the speakers. My name is John Gorton. I'm the head of the Microsoft Practice and Solutions at Bytes. I'm also joined by Peter Ely, our Modern Workplace lead, and Glenn Rogers, who's our licensing and asset management consultant. So what are we going to talk about? As the topic of the webinar kind of describes, it's to cover off Microsoft's changes to their CSP licensing program, the commercial price increase that they announced a couple of weeks ago on Microsoft 365 and Office 365, how to effectively defer those increases, and basically how Bytes can help through using the Bytes Quantum platform and our advisory workshops. So with that, I'll jump in. When we look back over the years, you can see that Microsoft's volume licensing programs have continually evolved. Back before Microsoft launched the Enterprise Agreement, we had just open agreements for SMB and select agreements for kind of larger and medium-sized businesses. Since then, licensing's evolved to provide customers with more purchasing options and flexibility. But with that, we've also seen lots of complexity, and as I'm sure you'll appreciate, there's multiple different agreement types today. And it is a complex world trying to understand Microsoft licensing. So Microsoft's Nirvana is basically to simplify how you as customers buy, and to modernize the tools that we as partners use to transact, and those tools that you guys use to obviously access the software, manage your licenses, and so on. And again, I'm sure you're all familiar with Microsoft's multitude of different systems that you need to access to kind of get access to different licensing information. So that's effectively where Microsoft's new commerce experience comes in. So what is new commerce experience? So the new commerce experience was launched in Microsoft's Cloud Solution Provider Program for Azure Plan, service subscriptions, and Azure reservations back in 2019. And what we're seeing October this year, as in next month, is Microsoft are going to introduce a new set of offers in their new commerce experience, specifically around Microsoft 365, Dynamics 365, Power Platform, and Windows 365. At the same time, they're going to introduce a new array of features and functionalities, basically in response to partner requests to Microsoft and your needs as customers. So as you may be aware, Microsoft make offers available through various different licensing programs and platforms, but the purchasing experience is complex. So each licensing platform has its own unique contracting experience, different terms and conditions, as well as disparate systems, as mentioned. Customers, as customers, you've got access to a various number of different portals, which actually depend on which program you've purchased through and what you've purchased. So, like I say, Microsoft are trying to move to a single connected platform, regardless of the purchasing motion that you buy through. So, the plan moving forwards is that you will sign one single agreement, and that'll be the Microsoft customer agreement. So that'll contain kind of terms and conditions that scale with the way that you buy. What we've seen today is the Microsoft customer agreement has been introduced in Web Direct. So if you buy directly from Microsoft's website, you're signing the Microsoft customer agreement. Also, there's the ability to buy Azure directly through Microsoft. Again, that includes the Microsoft customer agreement. And for those of you that have been buying through CSP, you will have already agreed to the Microsoft customer agreement as part of the sign up to CSP process, regardless of which partner you've bought through, whether that's Bytes or another partner. So Microsoft's plan is to kind of have 3 go-to-markets or routes to market. So there is CSP, which is primarily designed for customers of all sizes. The Cloud Solution Provider Program is not just a licensing mechanism. It is designed for us as your partner to be providing you with kind of more intelligent licensing with a managed service kind of overlaid on top of that. So, for Azure, for example, we provide you with access to Quantum, and that provides you with, the ability to optimize your licensing. And we also have Quantum 365, which we'll talk a little bit later on around what that offers. The enterprise motion, so the enterprise motion is typically your enterprise agreement. That hasn't changed. So the enterprise agreement is for larger customers that require more customized terms and conditions, perhaps, or can commit to Microsoft over a 3-year term for a specific set of products. And then there's the self-service motion. So you may be familiar with this. You can, through the Microsoft 365 portal, you can purchase some Microsoft offers through the portal yourself, but typically it requires payment through a credit card. So moving on, if we look at the new commerce roadmap, so you may have heard it referred to as modern commerce in the past. So this is effectively Microsoft trying to move their legacy platforms onto this new commerce platform. So Azure Plan, perpetual software, service subscriptions, and Azure RIs are already on the CSP new commerce platform. So you're probably not aware of this because it just happens in the background, but some stuff is on the new commerce platform. Some other stuff like the per user offers is still kind of has been left behind on the legacy platform. So what's happening next in the next release starts on the 14th of October is Microsoft are adding the per user offers I mentioned onto the model commerce platform, now known as the new commerce experience. So if we look through some of the pros and cons of what's coming up, and I'll talk through some of these in detail. So if we look at the detail on the left-hand side, so some of the pros. So today we've got a 3-year price protection in CSP for Dynamics 365. In March, Microsoft planned to release a 3-year offer for Microsoft 365, meaning that you'll be able to make a 3-year commitment and benefit from having that pricing locked for that duration. Just with that, we also need to consider the cancellation policy, which I will come on to in a second. And the cancellation policy is one of the biggest changes that Microsoft are going to enforce. So just bear that in mind, hold that thought for a second. One thing that a lot of customers and partners have been asking for is billing alignment to calendar month. So finally, that's coming with the new commerce experience. So today, billing alignment is with bytes aligned to the 18th of the month. It's a bit bizarre, and it obviously causes some confusion when trying to understand your bills. Finally, we can now align to calendar month, which should make obviously understanding invoices much easier. We'll be able to convert trial offers, so 30-day trial offers, into paid-for offers. And so today that isn't joined up. So you may sign up for a 30-day trial. It will expire after 30 days, and then you've got to go and buy your subscription licenses, for example, and reassign those seats to users. With the new commerce experience, you'll be able to essentially, I'm going to say, buy a trial, but that will then automatically convert into a paid-for offer, obviously, unless you turn that off. With regards to exclusive new offers, the plan there is with the new commerce experience, any new offers Microsoft make available, it's likely they'll go into the new commerce experience, but won't be made available in kind of legacy CSP. So that's where we kind of get into the new exclusive new offers. With Windows 365, there's going to be an option to select a hybrid use benefit, and that's for you customers that have perhaps already own Windows 10 or 11 by the time it launches, subscription licenses, thus reducing the cost of Windows 365. This hybrid use benefit already exists for Windows Server and virtual machines running in Azure. So if you think about that, you spin up an Azure VM, and it contains a license for Windows Server. If you've already got on-premises Windows Server licenses with active software assurance, you can effectively check the box when you're provisioning the VM in Azure to say that I already own a license and therefore enable the hybrid use benefit, and it reduces the cost of the Azure VM. So the same concept is going to come along with the Windows 365. One challenge that we see in CSP for some customers is the lack of communications credits. So if you're not familiar with what they are, communications credits can be used effectively as overage for Teams calling plans. So with a Teams calling plan, you get a number of minutes depending on which option you've selected. So each user is set on a number of minutes. If that user, for example, runs out of minutes, rather than just simply preventing them from making any further phone calls, you can opt to basically be billed through an overage mechanism, which is a communications credits. This has been available in the enterprise agreement for some time now, but it just wasn't available in the legacy CSP platform. Under the new commerce platform, this will be made available, so it's a good thing. Multi-geo capabilities are, again, finally coming to CSP, so putting it on par with the enterprise agreement. So for enterprise agreement customers, basically what it allows you to do in simple terms is create a replica of the local data and move that into a user's local Microsoft data center. So for example, if your tenant is in the UK, but you've got some, let's say, Australian users, the lag for those Australian users to come in and access the UK data center could be quite significant. What the multi-geo capabilities effectively do is create a replica of that data, store it in the Australian data center, so that those users are accessing the data locally. That's a good thing, and something that we've been crying out for, and you guys have been crying out for some time. So that's all good. We'll be able to schedule, or you guys will be able to schedule upgrades. So for example, if you're coming to the end of your annual term and you want to pre-plan an upgrade from, let's say, Microsoft 365 E3 to E5, that is something that will be possible through our cloud dashboard shortly after launch. Auto renew toggle. So what that basically means is auto renew by default is switched on. in New Commerce Experience, you now have the ability through the cloud dashboard to turn it off if you so wish to. And we'll also have the ability to align subscriptions to a specific end date. So rather than having subscriptions renewing all over the place, it will be possible to align those to one particular date if that's what you're looking to do. And finally, on the kind of the pros, Microsoft have announced that there will be a launch promo, which we're waiting for the details to come along on. But effectively, it's likely to be a discount on the annual subscription. So the negatives, Microsoft will, so if you think about CSP today, when you buy a subscription license through CSP, you are buying an annual subscription. However, what Microsoft have never done in the legacy CSP platform is to enforce a cancellation policy. So you should be committed for 12 months, obviously being an annual subscription, but due to the fact that there's never been that cancellation policy, you have had the flexibility to go up and down in terms of user counts on a monthly or even daily basis. In New Commerce Experience, Microsoft are going to enforce a cancellation policy, and I will come on to what that is in a second. Microsoft are also introducing a new monthly term offer. I've put it down as a negative here because today you have a monthly term effectively because there is no cancellation policy. The new offer is going to have a 20% price premium, so it's 20% over the annual commitment. But if you think about that effectively, it does play into how most things in the kind of industry work. So if we look at those offers in more detail, so you will now have a monthly offer. So you'll have the ability to purchase a subscription with a monthly term instead of only an annual term, which is basically what we have in CSP today. So like I said, it's important to note that this is a new offer. What we have in CSP today is the annual offer. It's just that Microsoft have never enforced a cancellation policy, which has allowed you to kind of take advantage of it and have that flexibility. So it is aligned with standard practices in Microsoft Web Direct and across other multiple industries. So when buying through Web Direct, Microsoft typically do charge a premium for the monthly offer. So let me just give you a view of Microsoft's Web Direct. So if we look at Microsoft 365 Business Basic on the left-hand side, you can see that the annual commitment price is £3.80 per user per month. And below that, you've also got the or buy for £4.50 with a monthly commitment. So basically what Microsoft are doing in the CSP program is to mirror the terms and conditions that you would see in Web Direct. These offers also apply to the enterprise agreement. So with an enterprise agreement, you would commit and prepay for a year at a time, and then after a year, you can then adjust your quantities. So CSP will again be aligned to both Web Direct and the kind of enterprise agreement purchasing motions. With the annual offer, because you're making a commitment to Microsoft for 12 months and obviously bytes, you're committing to purchase the product in your chosen quantities for a term of 12 months. So unlike today under Microsoft's New Commerce Experience, it's not going to be possible to reduce the quantity of licenses. So that's where the cancellation policy comes in place. So when you buy an annual commitment, which is effectively what you have available today, so it'll be the same price, you are committing to make either 12 monthly installments, or you can obviously prepay for 12 months. But there will not be a cancellation available outside of a 3-day term. So if you make a mistake when placing an order, there is the ability to cancel within a 3-day period. Outside of 3 days, basically there's no cancellation model is going to be available up until the end of February, and with that, I mean you'll be able to purchase under the legacy model up until the end of February, and then basically any new products that you want to buy, or if you come to a renewal of an offer, that will need to move to the new commerce experience. So we do have some time before we need to kind of act, but yeah, you have until the end of February to do something. So new commerce experience offers will be made available to you from the 14th of October. And yeah, and like I say, you'll be able to purchase both offers, legacy and new commerce, run them side by side up until March, at which point we can't process any new purchases or renewals in legacy. If you're able to make a commitment to Microsoft for the annual new commerce experience offer before the end of Feb, you will likely take advantage of the promotion, details to be confirmed, but also avoid the 10% commercial price increase that Microsoft announced a couple of weeks ago. So I'll come on to that in a second, but effectively the 10% commercial price increase is across all programs from March next year. But we've got the ability to kind of avoid that price increase by buying in either legacy CSP, locking in the price up until September 2022, or buying through new commerce experience. And if you buy the annual commitment, then that will obviously run for 12 months from February, therefore kind of deferring the price increase for a full year. So those are some of the options. With the annual and the monthly offers, one of the things we need to talk to you about is how you take advantage of the two and mix the two together. So it may be a case that you may have a base number of users that typically doesn't fluctuate. So for those users, it might be good to take advantage of the annual commitment offer. And then if you need a buffer, or if you've got seasonal workers, it may be a case that you buy the monthly term offer for those users, and that then provides you the flexibility that you've obviously had through CSP up until new commerce takes hold. So just to talk on the new pricing for Microsoft 365, I'm not going to go through this in too much detail, but effectively, Microsoft have announced that this is going to be the first major price increase that they've made to Office 365 or Microsoft 365 since it was launched, or Office 365 in 2011, Microsoft 365 in 2017. This has been the first significant price increase. The reason they're doing this is quite simple, that they've added so much to the Office 365 and Microsoft 365 suites. If we look at Office 365 when it launched in 2011, it only included Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, Lync as it was back then, Exchange and InfoPath. Today it's a huge suite of products. Microsoft have added 25 applications to Microsoft 365 and released over 1,400 different capabilities. So as you can see on the right-hand side of the screen there, the price increases vary between products. But yeah, so as it stands, that comes into effect on the March 2022 price list. You can avoid that initially, either through whichever agreement you buy through. So if you look at the enterprise agreement, if you make a purchase of any subscription license prior to March, you will lock in the price, and the same applies to CSP, whether that's legacy or new commerce. You will lock in the price by buying an annual commitment SKU prior to 1st of March. And then just a slight sidetrack, but Microsoft at the same time as announcing the price increase have announced that the audio conferencing, which basically enables you to provide a dial-in to a Teams meeting, or to effectively be able to dial out to bring people into a call, is going to be made free of charge. So today there's 2 promotions running, so one in EA and one in CSP, which allow you to buy audio conferencing or receive audio conferencing for free. That was only running until the end of December. However, Microsoft have now announced that in the coming months that they're going to add unlimited dialing capability, so effectively giving you that promotion on an ongoing basis. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Peter, who's just going to talk through an assessment that we have, which may help you understand, user requirements in more detail.
Thanks, John. Just wait while my screen's getting transferred. Okay, hopefully you can see that now. So as you've been able to see, there's much being done by Microsoft to align the way their services can be accessed and meet the expectation of consumers. So we're just conscious at Bytes that there's various licenses that you'll have access to as part of these agreements, and Bytes can address the scenarios that you're currently looking at to invest in. And as just been discussed by John there's been some price increases for modern workplace. So it's important that with all these changes, you're making the most of the assistance you can get from a partner like us at Bytes. And that's why we have a dedicated team who head up this modern workplace proposition, a team of 20 dedicated specialists in our practice, pre-sales individuals who also have commercial optimization specialists as well. So we can give you that rounded advice about what would be the best route and usage of those licenses. We're known in the industry for selling over 5 million Office 365 seats. We have a 25% market share, and we have the best of breed for Microsoft, so fully accredited across 50 plus modern workplace top tier technology partners, and we have a few subject matter experts who have the ability to align these multiple EUC offerings into integrated offerings and solutions to solve any challenges that you have. So this is an agnostic approach, but the fact that we have credibility across these technologies really helps with that approach. And our services is such that we focus on the employee experience as the outcome. So we've got many services that can help, many workshops, programs, fast track programs, implementations and tools like Quantum, for instance, that Glenn's going to be taking you through shortly. So this all gives you the visibility and the right understanding for anything that you perhaps will be investing in with regards to modern workplace, and hopefully that's something that we can help out with. In terms of the pillars in which we really focus our areas of attention for this modern workplace proposition, these are the 5 areas in which we really are focusing on helping customers with. We have concluded that these are the 5 best areas in which we really need to focus on based on some market research that we have done. So recently we commissioned Forrester to evaluate the state of remote work and modern management tools at organisations based in the UK. And through the survey of 154 IT decision makers, we wanted to uncover the state of remote work as well as the challenges that companies are facing, the opportunities they have to enhance remote work during these times. And there were some standout details from the survey. For instance, this year, IT decision makers intended to improve the remote work experience by helping employers focus wherever they are, improve mobility, invest in new devices, but they also plan to offer the right tools for employees to do their jobs and find relevant information where they are. And we also saw that, while modern management, cloud-based VDI and other end-user computing services are maturing, these decision makers also need to adopt a strategy for end-user experience management that consists of surveying, change management, persona building, endpoint analytics to supplement the changes from an architectural point of view in the endpoint management and the computing strategy they have. So this survey really aligns completely with the core modern workplace messaging that we showcase there, and this should be what we are effectively using to add weight to the fact that we are capable of being able to help with this EUC conundrum that you might have. So you should be confident that Bytes are able to meet all these challenges that you're facing and help with these future strategies, inclusive of these license changes that have been highlighted today. One area we just want to kind of highlight that we can certainly help today with is we offer a free modern workspace advisory service, where you have the ability to tap into the expert vendor agnostic expertise that we have and get advice and insights on how to create a future-proof EUC strategy. So if you want to balance your company's performance and security needs with your end user demands for new apps, new devices and easier access, well, this service from Bytes will help you in implementing that solution across your entire end user computing stack. And the whole point of it is that it's vendor agnostic, it's free advice, it gives you insights on how to create this strategy, and it's based on what we're seeing in the marketplace. So hopefully you can be confident to make some well-informed decisions on how to make and deliver a modern workspace that will meet your needs. And with all of the changes that are going on from a licensing perspective and from Microsoft's side of things, we think this would really be suitable for you as a customer. So just wanted to kind of cover that off. These are some of the things that you can take advantage of today by partnering with Bytes and looking at what we can do to help in this space specifically. But I'll hand over now to Glenn, who's going to take you through the options also for cost optimization with Quantum.
Thanks very much, Peter. So while my screen is loading there, hello, yes, I'm Glenn Rogers. I sit within the services and SAM team here at Bytes, and I have a particular focus on our cost containment and license optimization engagements. And what I'd like to talk to you briefly about today is our Quantum 365 tool set, which is a proprietary tool set that we believe we can use to enable and underwrite some of the decisions that you may face as a result of the changes that have been announced under the banner of the new commerce experience. I'm just going to double check that my screen is showing it is indeed good. So by way of introduction, the Quantum toolset was designed to give customers visibility and understanding of what is occurring on their Office 365 tenant and within their Azure AD environment. I should point out that the applications for Quantum and the data that it provides are absolutely vast, from a day-to-day tenant management point of view, managing joiners, movers, leavers, security and governance reporting, etc., etc. You know, there are 100 tabs and views that I could click through today. We would be on the call all day, and you would not thank me for it. On a good day, I'm guilty of focusing perhaps too much on the cost containment and license optimization functionality. But given the scope of today's conversation, that is where I will focus, and on where we see Quantum really assisting on the decisions that organizations will face between now and February, March time in lieu of some of the changes that Microsoft have announced. I should also point out that we have similar tooling, similar Quantum tooling available to help measure and manage Azure consumption, but again, that's less relevant to today's conversation. So when we land within the Quantum tool set, there are a number of recommendations that the tool provides out of the box. You know, judging by the behavior on certain accounts, can make recommendations to convert them to shared mailboxes, etc., etc. But what I really want to dive into today is how we can, I guess, manipulate some of the information that comes out of Quantum ourselves to really dig in and look for specific cases particularly around the kind of decisions we're going to face around committing or not committing, as it were, as a part of the new commerce experience. What we're looking at here is a list of all of the users on a tenant. The tenant this is pointed at is one of our development partners, and as such, all of the data is obfuscated. But in a real world environment, we would be looking at first name dot last name at yourdomain.com or what have you here to make this information more intelligible. When it comes to the kind of decisions we are likely to face between now and February, March, very much around, should we pay a 20% premium in return for flexibility, or should we commit to longer term purchasing to avoid that premium? I'd loosely categorize the areas we would look at to begin with as quantitative and qualitative. So from a quantitative point of view, we're probably focusing more on the flexible workers, and what we're talking about is quite literally, without even changing the suites or the licenses that you purchase, just making sure that we are purchasing them in the right quantities at any given point in time. And then if we are choosing to pay a 20% premium in return for flexibility, we need to make sure that we are taking advantage of that flexibility as much as possible. So in terms of quantitative changes, I see these as something that we need to address both in terms of both at the point in time of making a decision of whether we are going to commit for a 12 or 36 month period, but also when we are taking advantage of that flexibility, really staying on top of those quantities we commit to. And how Quantum can help as part of that initial decision-making process and that ongoing process is keeping an eye on how many of the suites and subscriptions you subscribe to are you paying for at any given point in time, and identifying some of the pitfalls that we see customers effectively oversubscribe. So what we can do with our list of users here is very quickly begin to filter through here to look for kind of some of the low-hanging fruit when it comes to quantitative changes. So if we split our accounts, our user accounts down firstly by licensed accounts, and then look for disabled accounts, for example. Now this is a development partner of ours, so I'd expect them to be very much on top of this. But as you can see here, they do have 3 accounts that have been disabled, but still have a licensable, or still have a license attached to them. This can happen for a variety of reasons. This is where somebody from IT has proactively gone in and disabled an account, but has not necessarily realized that there is a chargeable license left attached to that account. It can sometimes simply be a break in that leavers process, whereby the account gets disabled and the person who's done that doesn't realize they need to detach a license. It can sometimes be that organizations erroneously or as part of their policy leave licenses attached to accounts for the purposes of legal hold and email retention and what have you. And whilst there is a kind of a grain of sense in that line of thinking, ultimately the most expensive way of preserving somebody's emails once they've left your business is to pay Microsoft for an ongoing production business productivity license. So we'd be very keen to kind of look under the hood, particularly before making any kind of 12 or 36 month commitment as to whether any of your accounts are disabled with a license attached to them. What we can also do is look at accounts that are not currently in use. So we can filter over a period of time, but say, how many of my accounts have not been accessed in over 30 days, for example. We can then sort these to see which of these accounts that haven't been accessed have chargeable licenses attached to them, and get a view of what licenses are attached to these unused accounts. What are they costing me from a month-by-month basis, and what's the all-up cost to the business? What Quantum has been designed to do is give you as much visibility in one pane of glass as possible, so that if the tool is telling you somebody hasn't logged in over a month, or in fact in over 90 days, if we want to make that the period we're reviewing, we can scroll over to the right and get as much visibility as possible as to what we need to investigate. That who is this person, what department do they work in, what is their job role, what's their geographic territory, who is their line manager, etc., etc. The idea being that if the tool shows you somebody hasn't accessed their Office 365 account in over 90 days, we can very quickly from here make a phone call, establish why that may be. If it's the case they've left the business, then we will deactivate their account, reharvest their license, etc., etc. If it transpires that somebody is on maternity leave, then we can tag them as such. There's then clearly no point the tool reminding you on a day-to-day basis that that person hasn't logged in. So we can tag them as being on maternity leave, due back in February, and then set a custom reminder to say, if this person has not logged in by the the 1st of March, tell me about it then, and we can further investigate. If it transpires they've extended their maternity leave, we can we can deal with that appropriately. If they're not coming back to the business, then we can disable their account and reharvest that license. as well as the kind of quantitative changes that we can make to your agreements and your subscriptions using Quantum, we also have qualitative changes, which is where we start to look at what suites and what subscriptions are assigned to users and understanding whether they are appropriate. And that very much feeds back into and augments the kind of modern workspace advisory engagement that Peter spoke about a couple of minutes ago. So what we're looking for is users who are on a subscription who maybe are not using everything that is being provided to them, and trying to establish whether there is a more cost-effective subscription that we can move them onto. So this is the kind of activity I would envisage typically probably happening more as a precursor to making a 12 or 36-month commitment. But that's not to say there's no value in kind of monitoring users' usage on an ongoing basis to see if we can make incremental changes with our more flexible models as well. So what we can do within Quantum is we can look across any given suite or SKU from Microsoft and get a kind of global view across the organization as to how much of it is being used at any point in time. So here we have a view of all of the products that are enabled across this tenant, all of the licensing suites, and by clicking on any given one of them, and let's focus on E3 for now, we can see here all of the components that make up that particular suite, those that are in use and those that are in use, and we can start to look for opportunities to move people onto more fit for purpose subscriptions. And there can be a number of reasons this can occur. It might be that they are simply an internal employee with a lower usage requirement than some of you're more kind of power users or what have you. It may be the case that we have external contractors or external users who sort of really needed an account provisioned for them just to give them an email alias or something like that. And in giving them an E3 subscription, we're also giving them a copy of Office, when in reality they have their own copy of Office on their own device provided by their employer. And really they could suffice with simply an exchange only plan, or certainly an entry level subscription to give them exchange and Teams access if that's what you need to provide to them. There's not any particularly good examples in this particular tenant of Dynamics usage, but there's a lot of mileage in reviewing Dynamics SKUs and assuring that they are correctly provisioned to the users based on their requirements. Dynamics pricing can ramp up pretty quickly throughout the different plans available, so it's a very good idea to be absolutely sure that we're not kind of over subscribing or kind of over empowering users in essence by giving them technology that they don't need. What we can also do from within here is look at things like whether users are making use of their click to run entitlements. So users that are licensed for things like Office Professional Plus via 365 or Project Professional or Visio Professional, establishing whether they have actually activated their localized desktop applications. Now, what we don't do here is put a pounds and pence figure next to each of these, because there can sometimes be an explanation where the tool suggests somebody hasn't activated a product, but they are still using it. They might be using it in a VDI environment. It might be through shared activation. And what we don't want to do is look like we're using this tool to kind of inflate potential savings, only to have them evaporate pretty quickly under quick investigation. But here we can see, of the number of users that are eligible to run Office Pro Plus, approximately 3/4 of them have activated Office Pro Plus. So we're looking ideally for an opportunity to move somebody from something like an E5 or an E3, potentially down to an F plan or an E1 or something like that, and to reap the savings that come with that. There's also lots of other information we can pull from here, and like I say, I won't drag you through all of this. We would be here all day, but we can get some pretty we can deep dive into how much users are consuming from a point of view on OneDrive. We can look at Teams usage, who is actually starting meetings and who is simply attending meetings, again looking to move people from some of the higher level SKUs to something that may be a bit more appropriate to their job role. That, in a nutshell, is what Quantum does. Like I say, there's an awful lot more in there, but in terms of today's conversation around the new commerce experience and the kind of decisions that we'll be needing to make between now and February, I think they're the kind of key points we want to be looking at. Ultimately, how many subscriptions are we paying for? Should we be paying for them all? And are we on the right level of subscription? And I believe at this point now we're going to open the floor up to any questions that have come in over the chat functionality throughout the course of the session, and John, Pete, or I will answer those as appropriate.
Yeah, thanks, Glenn. So just having a look through the questions. So first one, is there a added cost for the multi-geo capabilities? So yes, like the enterprise agreement, multi-geo isn't an additional add-on to your existing kind of Office 365 or Microsoft 365 subscriptions. We haven't yet got the pricing for the multi-geo add-ons yet, so I can't confirm what that is just yet. Second question is conversion of trials going to be turned on by default? We're going to give you guys the option when you provision a trial to select whether you want it to kind of convert into a paid-for seat or not. So that'll be up to you to make the decision when you provision the trial itself. If you purchase a 3-year CSP before March 2022, would this also avoid the 10% price increase? Yes, it would. So if you purchase under the legacy or new commerce experience for an annual commitment, it will avoid the 10% price increase because it will lock in the February pricing or whichever month you buy in, therefore avoiding 10% price increase. What you can do from then on is to increase users as you need them throughout the year at the same price. So the locked-in price, the February price, rather than the 10% price increase. If we buy before legacy ends, will we still have the old cancellation policy available for 12 months, or will the cancellation policy cover both legacy and NCE? So if you buy legacy whilst you can, i.e. before February, then the old rules will apply up until the end of September next year, at which point we're forced to move you on to new commerce experience. So that's a key date as well. So we've also got March and we've got September. Legacy offers are available up until effectively 1st of March. However, come September 2022, we will need to move you to the new commerce experience regardless of when you bought under the legacy model. So to answer that question, yes, you can buy under legacy, have flexibility as you have today without the cancellation policy, but come September, you will be moving to new commerce experience. Are there any changes in costs for non-profit? So no, not this time. In terms of the 10% price increase, it is only, or it doesn't include education or consumers or non-profit. However, the new monthly term offer in new commerce experience that will affect all markets. So there will be changes there. And I think that's it in terms of the questions. So unless there are any others, you know, like I said at the start, if you've got any further questions, either drop them through to your Bytes account manager or email tellmemore@bytes.co.uk. And then following, when I just close the call in a second, there is the survey to complete. If you do want, you know, a call back from somebody at Bytes, one of our specialists, to make contact with you. So with that, thank you very much. I will now close the call. And like I said, we'll make the recording and slide deck available to you later on today. So thank you for your time.